Hello.
Exactly. You are, and so is Blender.Today. Actually, we didn't have Blender.Today last week, so welcome everybody, and thank you for watching Blender.Today live number 66. It's been a last week was a holiday here,
Yeah,
so Dutch holiday. So and also Belgium and probably some other place, something with not exactly sure about, but it's a free day, so with also not so many things happening in the Blender changes, we decided to skip that one and then make it a bit more awesome today. There's tons of things that has been fixed. There's a few new additions, and the biggest thing is the manual, the update in the manual.
Yes.
Have you been?
No, I
have you been working on that?
No. I've still been working on the bug tracker, but I mean, I'm kind of happy about not having to update.
Yeah, you've been working on the bug tracker.
Yeah, just working full time on the bug tracker.
Awesome.
So
awesome. So first of all, thank you for letting me know. Thank you, Harris, in the chat for letting me know that everything is okay, because I have been I forgot that part. It's you don't speak for 1 week to the camera and just forget how everything works. So all right, first things first, let's see if everything is here in place. Yes. So Blender.org, before going into Blender stuff, it's Blender training, because with 2.8 there's a new training that needs to be addressed, and people have to be trained, and the Blender Institute finally is doing institute stuff, because for the last year actually Blender Institute has been providing training here at the Blender HQ. So there is a number of trainings for the summer schedule. So here now they're promoted in the front page of Blender.org. Plus there is also a bunch of other trainings for migration courses. It's actually pretty interesting if you're moving from Maya Max to Blender and you want to do the jump. There is the course for that, Invisible VFX, Advanced VFX, even for like simulations. This is more like motion tracking, Studio TD, and a bunch of other stuff. So check it out.
Yeah, and there's only one spot left for the one in the
migration course. Yes.
And it's this Friday, or when
it's actually pretty soonish.
Yeah.
So this takes place. It is not online. It takes place here in Amsterdam, so you have to be nearby. And that is all for the short ad about. Is it an ad if it's actually Blender?
Sponsored by Blender.
Yeah, right. Like we are the Blender buildings talking of the Blender bought camera and microphones and everything, and the Blender t-shirts and the Blender everything. It's like
full disclosure, we might be a bit biased against Blender. We're employed by Blender.
We're employed by Blender. So your microphone is a bit quiet, so can you maybe get closer to it?
Yeah, I can.
All right, there you go. Let us know if everything is okay, or your ears exploded, because I also raised it.
Yeah, I tried a bit before, but it seems even at full settings it's a bit low compared to yours when I did the clap.
The clapping, clap test. Yeah, that is a bit cheaper. Sorry, but I use this every week. This is all we can afford. Go to the development fund. Yay! No, that actually no. The Blender Development Fund is not used for this kind of stuff. No, it's good to be mentioned. Is what it's paying. This is mainly like donations or Blender Store, because it's Blender Institute. So we actually are thinking about, together with the release plan for Blender 2.80, to update Blender.org and include more, try to make everything a bit more transparent, what is being used in where, because with so many now companies actually joining the development fund, so many people, the community is actually here. This light blue part this is actually who it is, you regular users are contributing, so it's good to make it a bit more transparent.
Yeah, so it's also more than 50% that's not from corporations, so it's from the users.
Exactly, from here, from you, the guys, the boys and girls. So also the effort is to have like, who's making Blender? Do you know? Like where you go to this website, there's nothing. You go to about, and you know a little bit, this picture says some, but it's there is missing some of that touch, the human touch, you know. So we are gonna invest some time on that for the Blender 2.80 release.
So then people will know who they should complain to.
Exactly. Who, you know, is like who's gonna okay, so I don't like this thing, and then Ton was asking me today, so what is your role? And I'm like, Well,
sweating.
yeah, no, like in the Blender project, my role maybe is this communication, but then, or also websites, but also in the Blender Studio role is more like rendering. In the Blender Institute role is sometimes teaching. So, so many things. Is everything okay? Yeah, are you keeping an eye on this? You have it more straightforward, just to see that if people are going with a sound.
I mean, they don't seem to hate it.
That's cool.
But yeah, I noticed also that my mic previously have been a bit low. But maybe, yeah, this is for later. But there might be a bit more knobs on the mixer. But
more knobs. Yeah. That you should get closer. Look at how close am I? Like this close. No, don't do that, please. All right, let's get to it. The Blender manual sprint. What does it mean? It's the efforts of the Blender developers. They actually, guys, they're writing the code. They're also updating the manual. So you're getting top level like definitions of everything in the Blender features. I don't think that happens in other companies, right?
I don't know actually how they write the documentation or manual for those things, but I'm guessing it's not the developers. It's kind of like some guru that writes it.
On the other hand, we also get some kind of very technical maybe description. So it's good for the users to go there. We plan on adding maybe some kind of a report the bug or make it better so people can contribute and make the manual a community effort. So
yeah, but it was quite funny. Sergey was like updating some pages and he was like, what is this?
Yeah,
what is this written here? We have to rewrite it.
Exactly. So okay, somebody's asking, when is it released? When is Blender released? Well, hopefully in less than
3 weeks.
Oh, gee, no. Wait.
That's the first release candidate.
I don't think we ever announced any dates. So
sorry.
The effort is July, but of course, July has many weeks. So in 3-4 weeks would be like the end of July, but the idea is to have something before not release on the 31st, like the last day. So the idea is to have some kind of release candidate maybe, or something to test the release. Probably already been here. If you're new to Blender development, then they are not familiar with it, but basically there is a release candidate, which I think many other companies, many other softwares do it also. They release betas maybe, like DaVinci Resolve released like 15 betas of the software before releasing the actual final one. I was following them, so it's pretty interesting.
But can we share it or
we can share everything as long as you're backing it up.
Okay, yeah, well, because if I remember correctly, the idea was to have something tangible by SIGGRAPH. So
the SIGGRAPH is in August, and we are supposed to release in July. We announced this date forever, so we should stick to our promises.
Yeah. But that was the last date, I think. Then otherwise Ton will be mad.
So sections of Ton. I mean, Ton is the least one. Look at the amount of 1,000 people getting mad at us. That's what I'm more afraid.
Yeah, I think he will be the one that is least mad.
And studios rely on scheduling things, right? So if a studio is planning to switch, then yes. So manual. The sections that are done are some of the more broad ones. There is the getting started, the user interface, all of those are ready. A big chunk is already done and finished, as you can see here. Like most of the basic areas. Some of them were copy paste from the previous, but there are things that need to be changed, and also there are areas that need new screenshots.
Yeah, there's 3 main areas. One is of course the text, so it reflects the current state, and then it's the screenshots. And the third one I forgot.
So
yeah, new features. Okay.
Yes, and sometimes the screenshots in Blender in the manual for 2.7 there were too many. There were screenshots for everything and
there was a button here, screenshot of the button.
Screenshot of the button. Yeah, that I think it's better to just remove it because it just doesn't help a lot, and it's better to have very clear text.
Yes.
It's also better for translations because if you translate the text but not the image, then it's more work for translators. So everything seems to be fine. 2.8 Blender in July. Yeah, exactly. July. It sounded so far away, but now it seems to be close to reality.
We can just move into industry standard terms like Q3, Q4.
Yeah. That's even worse. They are using the Q one, so it's 3 months wing. So that is with the manual actually. So I have a few. I didn't write a huge list, but I did a bit on the latest changes. I had to go through. So this is my my planning for today. The summer courses, manual sprint, and then some of the list. I tried to stick to Blender Master, but there was like 600-700 commits from the 2 weeks ago that I made the live stream. So I coupled them into like general stuff that are actually maybe some interesting, like tiny change in the interface. The idea is not to update the interface anymore, but this is a nice addition. It's meant to be icons. So the constraints never had icons. So it's technically not breaking it if never had icons, right? So the now the object constraints, you have very nice icons. Those icons, yeah.
I saw them. They look really.
They look very neat, very professional, exactly, which is a new thing for Blender, and it's pretty nice. So if you remember 2.7 days, there was a very nice chain for everything. So they were all the same. Now they have icons, so it looks more like a modifier. So it follows the same.
Yeah, it's also easier to know. You just quickly glance at it and select the right one, so not everyone has the same icon.
The same, yeah. Now we what we need in this kind of menus is a search, because with the modifiers is even longer. Today I was testing the branch, the LAN NPR, the NPR branch, and there are even new modifiers. Yes. So yes, but at some point we're gonna have nodes.
Yeah, I worked on one of those modifiers.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Which one?
I did the smooth surface contour modifier.
Oh, really?
It's just called my bmesh.
My vmesh. I like, believe it or not, I
compiled.
Okay, yes. Yeah, I compiled the branch today. I actually I deleted it because I couldn't do much with it.
Oh.
I compiled it, but I have it actually. I even have the outliner branch here, which I can show in a bit. But the idea is to show what's new in Blender. And also the branches in the future, because we gotta fill in this space. There is actually plenty of stuff to mention here. There is the key maps for the key maps, the drag and drop for the drag and select, like a box select, is now working on every editor, animation editor.
Week, right?
Yeah, but there was no Blender.Today for 2 weeks.
No, I'm just.
So you can now like click and drag and draw a box to select in every animation editor, which is awesome. The other updates are now regarding these features. You can also mix with operators. With modifiers, in the sense that you can hold, if you select, and then you can hold Control to deselect, for example, or Shift to add to the selection instead of overriding the selection. So for example, if you have these three and then you drag, select these two, you can do Shift and then add the selection. If you want to remove this guy, you just hold Control and then draw a box around it, and it does it. Somebody suggested it would be cool if you do it in one direction, it would select everything in it.
Oh, so it's context sensitive.
Yeah, it could be fun.
Yeah,
I saw it in Blender.
I think that should be like a feature you check for yourself, like, right? Because otherwise I think people would be confused, like, okay, why did it select now and deselect when I did something else?
Yeah, exactly.
So
is everything okay? Yes.
Yeah, it seems like there was some guy who asked about the optics stuff from NVIDIA.
Oh, any updates on that?
NVIDIA's working on it, but I mean, we don't really know what they are planning when they're trying to release it, if they're going to release it. I mean, it's still in an experimental stage, but it seems to be moving along nicely. I don't really know when that will be.
Awesome. Is there a game engine? No, not in 2.80. Just by the way, I took some settings in the live stream, so what we see in the live actually is more up to date. It's faster.
Oh yeah, so it's not that big of a lag.
There's not so much of a lag. Sometimes there is a lag, but now it's actually we can answer immediately. Awesome. So more gizmos. Last week, last episode, I show how now you can click through the gizmos to select the objects underneath. this was achieved by being able to click and activate basically when you press it, or click and drag. So what I mean is that when you click only without dragging, it will select the object behind. The issue with this is that for Blender to detect the click and drag, it needed like a few pixels of threshold, right? Like what is a click? Yeah. So in that, some people were complaining because it introduces like a very tiny threshold, which is actually configurable. You can change it on the user preferences. But now there is a user preference for actually removing it completely. So you can enable it in the key map, and then you can change it. It's a key map setting. That's actually a nice tweak. So you can do press or drag. So if you do drag, you can actually select the objects that are underneath by just clicking, and then it will be selecting. Which is one of the things that the right-click select people, you don't even have to worry about this, because right-click selects and left-click activates.
Yes.
Isn't it better? So, what? What is the ambulance? There was an ambulance passing by. I hope it wasn't people using right-click select and then...
Pablo dropped some facts, so they were like...
Oh, they were alarmed. Somebody got burned. That's why.
Like right-click is better. Like, no.
What the heck? They click for user preference. For user preference, that the way I like to call user preferences is... I actually never explained it, but that's the only way I use it. Is I press F4 and then I go here. So it's the last item, or you can also do F4 and P, which is also the same, right? Because P is underlined, so it's gonna be triggered.
Oh.
How do you call the user preference? You go all the way to...
Yeah, I go to...
Where is it? Edit. Doesn't make
sense. That's the way I do it. I'm lazy.
No, actually, I got really used to it. F4 for me is like for appending, linking, new. Like F4 is my go-to key. I use it so often that it's actually getting this color.
Is the old shortcut gone? You know, the Control
For
Alt U or what?
Yes, yeah, it was something weird with Control Alt U, I think.
Yeah.
It got removed from 2.8 because in the effort to have a bit more room for activities, right? So that's why it was added to a fast shortcut, like in this case F4 and then the last item, which is, I find it pretty fast. And if you're on a Mac, they have a dedicated shortcut usually, which is Command comma or something like that.
Oh, okay. Can you add it to the quick favorites menu?
Let's find out. Add quick to favorites, and then you can preferences. There you go.
Yeah.
Yay. Why it appear here and not in the bottom? Interesting. And also why oh yeah, you can. So maybe you can even add a shortcut.
Yeah.
So let's try Control Alt U. Let's go vintage. Bam, it works. You see, you can get... And by the way, with the new 2.8 way of saving the settings, you don't even have to save the settings because they get auto-saved.
Yeah, it auto-saves.
So it's awesome.
So be aware of that. If you experiment too much, then you might...
Yeah, if you experiment too much, expect your experiments to stay unless you disable them by going with your Control Alt U. No.
Yeah.
And disable down here in this.
And then just untick the autosave, and then you have to do it.
And then you have to save for the I click disable autosave, and then I have to save preferences. Yes. Okay. How do I know? Because when you click on it, it's active, like it shows like it can be pressed. Once you save it, it becomes transparent, translucent, so you don't...
Yeah, it's grayed out, so you know changes to save. Exactly,
no need to change it. You can still press it though. Hey, Sebastian Koenig is here, yay! Whoa. Still find it weird, the save file is not part of the file menu. Save file is not, what? File? Ah, in the F4. Well, because it will get too long, I think. It's nice to keep it short. Otherwise, you have to do everything.
Shortcuts. There's Control S, Control S, Control S.
Oh yeah, Control Shift S. Yeah. Control S. Like, yeah, that's the thing. It like Control O is very awkward to go all the way Control O. For that, I actually use Control Shift O for recents. So that's how I keep my things open. Wow, this.
Also, there was some guy that asked about...
Or girl, like let's not generalize.
Some dude.
Dudette or dude?
Yeah. asked about object motion blur, but I haven't heard about anything about that, so I don't think it will make it in 2.80.
Oh no, there are no new features that are allowed.
Yeah,
it's illegal.
exactly.
It's illegal. People go to jail for things like that. So the more fixes and improvements. The sequencer is not something I can show here, but the sequencer got so many fixes. Also improvements in the cache validation that we showed a few weeks ago. There is now a bit more. It's a bit smarter. So when you add a new strip,
Video sequencer, you mean?
Yeah, the sequencer. Yeah. Do we have another sequencer?
No, I was just...
Are you working on a secret audio sequencer instead of video sequencer? And
yeah, but that's the thing. If you have a video sequence editor, it implies that you have some other sequence editor.
So Blender is paving the way for future editors. Bam! Our door. Audacity inside of Blender. You heard it first in Blender.Today. No, okay. Next, a bunch of fixes with the sound. If sound strips, they were having some issues if you were rendering on from the sequencer, especially if you had in your scene, if you had the very oftenly used speaker object. So if you had a bunch of speakers, they were not rendering properly until a few days ago. So if you had issues with that, check it out again.
Yeah, and the sound Sergey also fixed this morning that if you were in the video sequence editor and tried to load the sound and then change the path to the sound in the end panel, it would crash, but now it's fine.
Isn't it awesome? Russian doctor at our service. The sequencer, another speed regression that got fixed, and the Collada import and export that got completely reworked. So that's also big. If you had issues with it in the past, try it again. Yeah,
because it's specifically material import export.
Okay, for Collada.
Yeah, exactly.
How many of you are using Collada import export, by the way? I think the most popular are maybe FBX and OJ.
Yeah, that's the impression I also got, that most people are using now either Alembic or FBX.
Yes, exactly. The new kids on the block. So another change that I find worth mentioning is that if you're using the superior Imperial system, now if you're using the Imperial system for units, so if you enable it, by default it's metric in 2.8, remember. So in the scenes units, if you use Imperial, in the past when you set like, instead of 10 feet, you will say like 1 m for like mile, for example, it will take it as meters. So now for miles, you have to do mi, and then it will make it. Look at that. 1 mile is 5,280 feet.
Yes.
Or 1 very long feet. All right. Next, Python API improvement is now external render engines can use Eevee as lookdev. So that's pretty neat. So if you are if you're a company making a render engine, which is, I bet 50% of people here, and you're making a render engine, they can use the Eevee as a backend for the lookdev. So we'll try to match as soon as possible.
Is Lux render still updated for Blender? Do you know?
What, Blender?
Yeah, Lux render.
Lux. Oh, I haven't checked out. But there is like Redshift. There is
because I remember before Cycles there was a lot of other ray tracing third party.
Well, there is already. There is Yaf Array.
Yeah, I
mean
with the Blender integration.
Oh, Lux Render.
Yeah.
Lux Render is one of the Luxco Render. Are there? Yeah, interesting. So let's move on. Fixes. This fix is pretty neat, and I saved the URL because it's made by the community. So I always try to encourage developers or wannabe developers from the community to join and improve and just start helping out with some fixes. And in this case, Ethan something fixed an issue that was actually reported a time ago. It was that basically also in 2.7, so let's see the improvement done everywhere, is that in the 2D views, these scroll bars, you could go all the way to like nothing, and then it will become this little dot.
Oh, and you couldn't expand it again.
Yeah, and it's like impossible to move, depending on how you move it. It's like super useless. So I made a bug report, and Ethan very nicely fixed it, and now it's part of Blender 2.8 glory, because he made it so the scroll bars now have a minimum size. So, oops, I pressed the wrong...
I mean, you can just show it still by dragging.
Yeah, you can drag it. So basically now they have a minimum width, so you can still adjust them, and you can still move in a very...
small increments.
Small increments, yeah. Which is maybe when you're working with frames is not so handy, but when you're working with subframes, which not a lot of people are aware actually that you can enable subframes. So
it's mostly for physics simulations, right?
Yeah. So it's for like particles and stuff.
There was one guy who asked us, how did we get a job at Blender? How did we do it? So, but
how did you do it?
Yeah,
I was, I don't know, I was like, I don't even remember. So young.
Well, at least that I got explained to from Ton was that he wants to make sure that the guys he hires have a lot of experience in Blender, so you don't have to teach that much.
Yeah.
And also that you have recent like activities and stuff. So what I did was that I did my master thesis in Blender, partially at least.
Oh.
And then afterwards he wasn't that impressed, so I worked
not impressed. Make it better
on the bug tracker to show that okay, I can do I can work with other code, not just my own. So I don't write this whole new add-on to Blender, but I don't do anything with the existing code. So I know how to fix stuff with what's already there, and that was how I did it, programming wise at least. And also that I think the most important thing is that you show that you are interested, that you want this, and you're not like, here's my CV, goodbye,
and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
And it's the same for especially for developers, like the way to get in just... There are many ways you can do summer of code. For example, Sergey's made a summer of code about the motion tracker, but also just showing your work out there. If you're an artist, it's about the same, I think.
Yeah, it's mostly that for artists, you have to show that you have experience with Blender, so you're not applying, but with like, I just know Maya, I haven't touched Blender at all.
Well, actually, we hire a few Maya animators. Like the animators that are here, they didn't use Blender until they came here.
Yeah, but,
no, one of them actually, Pablico.
Yeah, but I'm saying you have a lot. Your chances are higher to get in
if you use Blender.
Yeah, if you use it. And also, I have to preface this with, I was quite lucky to get in, because I mean, Blender is not a big company, so they don't have a lot of money to throw around. Yeah. So I was actually very fortunate. I was just about to give up and hand in my CV to some other companies and probably get a job within a few weeks or so. And then Tom stepped in and was like, hey, I know it's not much, but do you want to work on the bug tracker half-time?
Yeah.
Just to get you some money. And then it went from there. And it also was because of the dev fund. Without the dev fund going so well, I wouldn't be here.
That's true, actually. That's what actually enabled Blender to get developers like that, and especially more like passionate, about it. And yeah, you can tell, like you can see here how things go usually. Like you can follow the developers and you can see what they're doing actually in the Dev Talk forums, in the meeting notes. You can see in the meeting notes who's doing what, and each day of the week.
Everyone and see what they reported.
Except Sebastian here, because you were not here. You were not here working.
Is this this week?
No, it's from 10th of June.
Yeah. I just arrived here and then I helped some other artists with some stuff, so it wasn't that much to report. So I asked Brett, can I skip this week?
Look at that activity, insane. Monday, 17. It was all today.
Yes.
Wow, you've been busy.
Last week, I tried around 90 bug reports.
Oh, wow.
So it's a lot of reports.
Yeah.
Just coming in. But yeah.
No, not too bad. So let's see. Let's what are the comments about? Right, let's move on. Fix the status bar and key map editor. Yeah, there's another UI fix, basically, that the down here the menu will say call menu instead of what the menu was. So in this case it says context menu. If you're in an object, it's object menu, and it now tries to be a bit smarter and get the name of the menu.
There was one guy that asked you, Pablo, if you could like post a link to the change log in the video description so people can look at it by themselves.
Oh yeah, yes, I can absolutely. Yeah. I should do it more often, but I set up some AI to do it for me. This AI is called RSS. So basically, in code.blender.org there is the list of meeting notes, which is basically just pulling in the
the things Brecht posts every
yes
week.
Exactly. So I'm putting the computer to work, and there is this list on DevTalk. If you go to devtalk.blender.org, you'll find the meeting notes section there. Here's where you can see all the previous meeting notes until we started, actually, which is it started way before this, of course. But only recently we started using the manual, the new DevTalk forums. And I think we're getting close to the reaching the end of the fixes. This one was worth mentioning is the Eevee animation. When you're rendering with Eevee and you have an image sequence, it wasn't updating.
Quite a few people reported that bug because they were using images to flick through like different expressions on characters.
Oh yeah, for like 2D like sprites.
Yeah, like Zelda Wind Waker or other things, when you just for the eyes or mouth just switch between static images and they wouldn't update correctly.
Yeah.
So now that's fixed.
Good. Now you go make your next Zelda.
Yeah.
Then another one, Eevee, related to Eevee, the bump was going in the wrong direction, so it was looking like inside out. So that another thing that if worth mentioning, because bump is something that you notice immediately if it's in and out, right? You make a crack and then, hey, this is a bump, not a crack.
Yeah.
On a whatever. So, and the last one, Intel HD 4000 got a bunch of fixes last week, actually.
For Mac, I think.
Huh? For Mac? No, it also outside of Mac. In general, Intel HD 4000. So that should be should fix some of those. And I think that's it. I have the I didn't open the questions for this week.
No questions.
Oh, let's Blender.Today. So I hope somebody, some nice heart from the community did it for me. And here, thank you so much. You guys are amazing. I completely forgot about it. Thank you, Michael Soloyanov. And I'm gonna upvote the. I'm not logged in, but I'm gonna upvote when I back. So it's I actually had what I opened here in the back is the outliner branch that I wanted to show in case we were running out of content, but we are not, because we have questions. But one of the nice things to show, this is a branch. It is not on the official Blender yet.
Is this the lies branch?
Huh?
No, this is the
outliner. Yeah, Summer of Code branch, which is super awesome because it contains additions to, like, people were asking forever, which is like being able to like click and then shift click to select all of them. That already is like worth it, 281, like just with that feature. Then you can also tell which object is active. You can see like the active here that you have selected. Also, there is the new icons.
You mean the active selected in the outliner?
In the outliner,
yeah.
Yes.
So it's the black strip.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Then the object constraints are also visible here, and you can disable them from here. So it makes a bit more.
Yeah, that's nice.
The connection.
Then you don't have to go into the preference tab and go to constraints to see if it's a constraint on that object.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see it directly from the outliner.
Yeah, and you can click drag for box select and a bunch of more little sneak peek. So let's get to the questions. First one. Dead Dragon asks, will Blender see the dots on the face select in edit mode like in 2.7? The new way to make it makes it hard to find double faces, and then we'll be able to see the normal faces in edit and object mode.
You can already have.
You can already do it. It's just disabled by default, but you can enable it. It's in the edit mode.
But we won't show you how.
Overlay, overlay center. So you can enable the face center when you are in face select mode.
Yeah, so you have to be in face select mode also to get them to show up. So first,
yeah, because it's for selecting the faces.
Exactly.
So there are many reasons why it's not enabled by default. It's because even in 2.7 it wasn't the most like great way of detecting, especially when you were using like this kind of subdivided mesh. Sometimes if you had some weird
oh yeah, so you can't see them through the subdivided mesh, you mean, or...
Yeah, but no, also like the dot is not really in the center sometimes, and if you have a very low dense mesh, then it can look weird. And if you also if you had, for example, like some weird mesh, it's just not always accurate, right? Like the dot is somewhere in the center, and sometimes you end up with more noise than it is. The option is still there though, and you can enable it.
Yeah, way. I like it personally, but
I also like it. I will have it on by default, but if it's not accurate, then why making people confused by default? Like, okay, these are many questions, but let's try to get them all. Jask Random asks, you're the first one. You go.
Okay. Will the Blender start going more on academic engagements so that Blender gets more used in 3D animation classes in schools and around the world?
Academic engagements on like getting, well, there is a Blender Foundation certified trainer which should get an update it's soonish, as soon as 2.8 is out. There's just so many things going on at the moment that it's hard to
also, at least from my experience with universities, my university used Blender in certain courses, but for the guys that were trying to get into the 3D industry, they used Maya or something else because it was the industry standard. So why would they use Blender to teach these things then? So I think it's mostly about, I mean, if you do a good program that many people adopt, then the schools will do it by themselves because they want to teach what's relevant. And it's also free, so they don't have to pay any license for it.
Yes.
So I think it will come like automatically over time.
There's also in Get Involved section of Blender.org, there's the education part where you can get in the BF education mailing list, which is very 90s looking website where you can subscribe and get in touch with other educators related to Blender. Second question is, will there be improvements and new features in the compositor? Not in 2.80, theirs has been closed, but maybe in the future, the idea is that the compositor can be somehow a bit more like...
Compositor?
No, like it could merge more engines or even be something that you can do in the viewport, something more real-time.
Okay.
Next question.
What are the advantages of MantaFlow compared to the old system and the other systems on the market? Well, the thing with MantaFlow...
It's open source.
Yeah, it's open source, it's free, and...
FlipFlow is based?
Yeah. Most of the water simulation stuff on the market right now use something called FlipFluids, and what that basically it's that you use particles and some smart math to map out liquids that are quite optimized when simulating large quantities of water or fluids, so it becomes fast. And that's what MantaFlow is, and in addition to that it can do smoke simulation and a lot of other things. And compared to the old method was based on a very old school way to solve liquids, and the problem with that was it was very slow and also hard to get like this high resolution water simulation without it slowing down to unusable levels, basically. So what's new with the new ones is basically it's faster, you can get a lot details easier without sacrificing as much performance, and it can also in sometimes interact better with other simulations or the environment.
Yes, and it's coming in 2.81, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I think they were ready to merge it, but it was too late.
Yeah, it was too late for 2.80. Yeah. So as soon as 2.80 is released, 2.81, it's gonna get one of these awesome things for you to test. And it's open source again.
Yeah.
Next question. What?
Yeah, should we take all of them, because we said previously one question
per person? Yeah.
Because I think there's a lot of others, right?
Yes.
If we run out of questions, we can jump.
We can go back. I mean, this one. Any news on the Agent 327 movie? No. What would you guys do at the Blender Foundation if you got 50 million euro?
Celebrate.
Do 50 million more awesome releases, and how do we do muscle simulation in Blender with a bunch of
add-ons,
bones,
but
bones. Yes. Next question.
Hi Pablo,
sorry. Hi.
Hi Pablo. Where render time and memory indicator in cycle viewport is? I can't find the option to enable it again. It was very useful.
It should be.
I think it should be when you just
in the few cycles here. You should see it in the render.
Yeah, you should just render it, and it should.
This thing, they should show up here.
See the memory and everything.
And if you're in the rendering, you should also see. You don't see the entire thing. You only see it. I think it wasn't very accurate, and they should show up here also as well. So next. The Sergey asks, "Hello, Pablo. Can you tell us?"
What?
I
thought it was the render. What is it? Viewport render.
Yeah. So. Hello, Pablo. Can you tell developers about completely broken undo system? They are super aware of it. They're like the most aware people ever. We made Spring Open Movie project here, a huge project with thousands of objects, and we were using an even earlier version of 2.8 than now, like a year ago. So we are aware of the issue. It's just not a super simple thing to fix.
No, Campbell.
It's super high priority, so don't worry.
Yeah, Campbell is very aware of that issue.
Yes, he's gonna lose a lot of hair on that issue. Next question, Setcorp.
Hi Pablo, will the node editor get a whole revamp or something like in Nuke or Houdini with everything nodes, or maybe something better and next level? Yeah, I think the idea with the everything nodes is to be more like Houdini, so you can just plug in everything to everything else.
Yeah, but I don't know what you mean exactly, because now the editor, as in the editor itself, is gonna get improvements in terms of like searching for nodes or managing being able to connect multiple nodes, or like it's gonna get improvements because for a system that advanced you need some of those improvements. The animation nodes add-on, it already improves a lot of the existing system with like multiple colors, difference in between the sockets, and you can even search. If you can search for like multiply, and it will give you the math node, for example. It's a bit smarter, and then it's an add-on. So, and the developer that made that add-on is actually working on the everything nodes. So we can expect some of those features to come to the node editor and make it even better. Yes. Next question, PK Go asks, wait, for 2.80, why didn't you guys use Pixar's Hydra viewport instead of Workbench? It loads 52 million polys in 0.8 seconds and it's high production quality since open source and get updated frequently.
Which license?
No, I think it's a license permissive, but it's not like you just let's get a viewport done. Like plug in. No, it's not plug and play. There is a whole system behind it that you still have to hook in. It's you're not completely like you're on the you are not completely aware of like all the parts of the code. It also has to be made work with the Blender blend file like system. It's that thing about 52 million in 0.8 seconds. It's very wide. Hydra is not made to work with like like Blender in the website. Blender it says it can support up to like, we get people complaining about Blender not working on an Intel graphics card. Try to open a Pixar Hydra viewport. So yeah, you gotta compare on.
Yeah, but I think the most of the issues is, as you said, we have to integrate it with Blender. I don't know the license exactly. If it's not compatible with the GPL, it's not possible. And
not only that, but also the this viewport it's Pixar, right? They want to make a feature film. They want to is made for film. Eevee, while it also can be used for film, can also be used also for like real-time visualization, for editing in the viewport. So
and also for doing games, so you can have how it looks like perhaps in the game.
In the game, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's more of a PVR based, like more. It's a different kind of approach. So closer to Unreal than it is to Pixar. But that doesn't mean that it would. And I think also by the time like the PVR branch of Blender was way before Hydra came out. Way before. I remember it was like quite time before.
Yeah.
Next question by the Dragon, please.
Yeah. When are you quitting Blender 2.80? Oh.
Sorry. When you're quitting 2.80.
When you're quitting Blender 2.80, you get the save options. Why can't we use the arrow keys or the tab key on it to select save?
Because it was not implemented.
I mean, can?
No, you can't. No,
okay,
I think. I mean, if you already tried it, I believe it, and yeah, you can't.
Yeah, but can't you?
No, then that would remove it.
Okay,
I mean,
I just used the shortcuts that listed there, so it's like S for save, C.
Oh yeah, I do it all the time. I do Control Q D all the time.
Yeah.
I actually got used to it. And but yeah, the reason why it's not implemented is just nobody thought of it before. I don't think I ever seen even a right click select proposal about it. But it would be nice for maybe a new developer to work on those kind of features. Next question by Tomo.
Okay.
Hi Pablo, some time ago you said about different Blender builds for different tasks, like Blender only for modeling, sculpting, etc. When can we see it? And will be some builds for Android or iOS. Blender for Android was actually a thing. Yeah, what was in the past. I had it on my Samsung Galaxy S3. I had a Blender running there, so of course it was super slow. It was a proof of concept, but it turned out to be hard to get it to work properly because of the old OpenGL that Blender had and the super old phones back then. So having Blender now having the core profile, the newer OpenGL basics, it already would help a lot. It's not an easy work. So and what do you get back? It's just what do you get in return is just not as like if you want Blender to get in the film industry, it's not the same as getting it on a tablet. And also, what is the limit, right? In Blender, you can open a film, like you can open a Spring file. What happens if you open that on a tablet? A tablet is mainly for like small things. If you load many textures or like they don't have, you can't put a Quadro graphics card on a tablet. So there's so many limitations and so much work for so little reward that better.
I think it would be easier if and when we eventually go over to Vulkan, because that's what we're going to use on Android too. Then it would be easier to port if you just want to use it for preview or whatever small files.
Yes, and
then also I think with different tasks that he asked about, I think you said it's when you do the new file and then the
file new, yes, you can do sculpting and then you can start sculpting right away. So this is what I meant, that is a Blender for each task. So as you can see, there's no other default workspaces he added. You have to add them or you can make your own. But the idea is that it's focused on what you're working on now.
Exactly. And then the next question was if you press numpad 5 and rotate, it turns back to perspective view. That's as answered.
Oh, there is actually answer. Yeah, there is a preference here.
Yeah, so you can just uncheck that thing and it will stay in orthographic view.
Yes. Next question. Hello, Pablo. Can we add a toggle to disable icons for zoom pan in image sequence editor? If you don't, using tablets is useless. In the viewport is the overlays. The gizmos. So you have the navigate gizmos, and in the image editor, it's not available. Maybe that's something worth adding, and it actually makes sense to be. It should be possible.
I think
the navigate gizmos. No, actually, there's no option for overlays for toggling the overlays. That's a worth.
Can't you just like right click or something? And disable it, I think.
What disable the what? No, there is no. You can't.
Okay.
So actually, it's a good point. I've never even noticed, but it's worth.
Because I think at least before in the 3D viewport, before you could set it up here, you had to like right click over here and.
No, that's for the tool settings. There is the tool settings. Yeah. So no, not that I know, and it's actually worth poking about it, the developers.
Yeah.
But maybe how? Like maybe on a paper cut on the Blender dev talk forum. So
yeah, because it's probably not a bug, it's a paper cut.
It's a paper cut, yeah. So please, if you can write it here, and just this way we can poke the developers and William also for the interface part about it. Next question, Illusimo.
Yeah, hello Pablo, thanks for always keeping us up to date. Yes. I hope you had some time to relax last week. I have a question about grease pencil weight painting with bones. At the moment, you cannot select bones while weight painting in GP, and I have mentioned it on the dev page, and so on. But I haven't been updated about the progress. I hope this can be fixed.
I don't have time to test it like right now, but have you tried disabling the edit mode lock object modes, because this will keep you in whatever mode you're in. So when you, for example, which is the opposite way of how 2.7 used to work, because now you can select multiple objects at the same time. So there is a need for this setting, which is on by default. And I don't know if it should be on by default because it changes how 2.7 used to work, but basically it locks you in whatever mode you're in at the moment when you start editing. So try with that one. Next question, JM Morgado. Hey Pablo, do you know of a way to open Blender 2.80 without OpenGL 2.3?
No,
nope.
That's not possible.
Yeah.
Or it is possible. You can turn on software rendering, but it will be so slow that you don't want to use it.
So it's not possible because you can only turn it on with like what, the command line thing, or
yeah, you can use it to debug certain stuff, but as I said, you will get like 1 FPS with the default cube or something.
So you can't.
You can, but it's not usable, so you shouldn't.
So you can't. I mean, it's the same as no. It's a 1 frame per second with the default cube. It means no. Will Eevee get a real-time pointiness not working 2.8 for the release? No, not a 2.80 because it's feature locked. Daniela Palme ask.
Hey Pablo and friend.
And friend.
Sebastian.
Sebastian. I should put your name here somewhere. No. Sebastian or Sebastian.
It's no problem. I'm not as famous as you, Pablo. Okay, anyways, the GSOC is ongoing and I'm incredibly excited for some of the things that are being worked on. Of course, this is student work, but presuming all goes well and the code is accepted, can we assume that the code will be committed to master? I would think for 281. Well, yeah, if you say that, okay, everything goes as planned, the students finish their code, the code is good, it works as it should, and we have time to review it, then yes, it will make it into master. But most of the issues is that this is a general problem for all the GSOC stuff, is that the students probably aren't able to finish everything they're working on. So they say, okay, I will put this on ice for a while because I have some courses I need to take, and then I will resume the development to finish the last things I had to work on and then submit it for review. The last part doesn't happen most of the time because they're busy with other stuff. So it just...
Basically, it's outside of the Blender hands. Yeah. So it's kind of a lottery. Unfortunately, it's kind of a lottery, but sometimes it turns out really well and you get awesome students. Sometimes you don't, or sometimes it takes 2 years. For example, the developer working on the NPR branch this year was actually working on it last year. Yes. So this will be 2 years worth of summer of code. And when it makes it, if it makes it, it will be amazing. Yes. So that's that's open source. Sometimes it goes super well. Sometimes it depends on how a person woke up that morning or didn't wake up that morning. That is also a very sad part. Yeah. Okay, let's go out from this happy moment to the next question, because we are actually 1 minute past the time. So let's do...
We're 5 minutes late.
we're okay. So let's do 5 more questions and then we are we move on. So next one is Serge Malarov. Hi Pablo, the waiting of 2 weeks was hard. Yeah, tell me about it. I was dying to start. So really glad to see you back. A question: is there a fast way to find the collection of an instance proxy? Right now, it's really hard to find in a busy outliner unless you know exactly where it is. Maybe something like using the tab button only to go to the collection. Actually, that was a proposal for using the tab, but it was a proposal for like 281 in the future when this gets refactored with overrides, with library overrides, and with the asset manager. There is no way to do that like as of now, but I would say there is maybe a quicker, better way to find the collection of an instant proxy via the outliner. And you know, in the outliner, you don't only have the view layer view, but you also have the Blender file view, which is way more verbose. Yeah, you can even filter out a bunch of types here. So even the library stuff, right? Where is the library? It's a cache file. Can't find it right now. Library, there you go. So you can filter by library and you can actually see, search, and just look into this area. This is a hidden gem, the Blender file part. And it's also a must if you want to use collections in 2.8, I think, in my opinion. IMHO.
Okay.
Next.
Yes. Hello, Pablo. Will the anti-aliasing be added in the near future for baking and blur soften nodes, as in the compositor, but in the shader editor? When can we expect improved performance when editing geometry with modifying execute and increasing overall performance? For the nodes, you would have to. I don't think it would be that hard to do, but I don't really know. But it would be new nodes, so not for 2.80 at least. And then improved performance when editing geometries and overall performance. Serge is looking into some of the performance regression, and Clement also, but I mean, we can't really promise that much because some of the performance issues are very hard to solve. So I don't know.
So we don't know. Sorry for that. No, but it's a good answer. And actually, you mentioned people working on it. So it's not like, yeah, the marketing team is working on it. No, it's actually like Sergey Sharevin is looking on it, and Clement Foucault is also working on it. The developer of the dependency graph and the EV. So it's like it's in good hands.
Yeah, the biggest issue is that there is a lot of high priority bugs with crashing and other stuff.
Crashing, yeah. The focus is on crash.
So that's had to be solved first.
Yes. Next question by Bajito. Hi, Pablo. On what version EV lighting will be fixed or improved? It's a bit vague, the question, like fixing what or improving what sense? Fix?
On every version.
On every version, exactly. That's the best. That's a very good answer. So yeah, in every version, it's not like now it's made bad on purpose and then it couldn't improve, but it's just things that get involved to get fixed over time. And also, Eevee hasn't even been released yet. Yeah. It's a beta still.
I mean,
so
we do it bad on purpose. We can then post release notes like
of course
we improved it 100% faster.
No, we are not the A company. Whatever A company is, because there are big A companies.
We're the B company instead.
The B company. Hey, no, that sounds very like
the B movie.
The B movie. What a meme. All right, next. So yeah, it will be keep improving.
Yeah. We skipped the question about 3ds import.
Sorry. Where is it?
I don't know. The question was, when will 3ds import feature be back? I don't know exactly the state of it, but if I don't take my word for it, but I think the issue is that no one is maintaining it.
There's no maintainer for the 3ds file.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's really no one working on it. Because can you just look quickly if you can?
Into what?
In Blender 2.6, if you can enable.
2.7.
No,
2.8.
2.8. Sorry, 2.6.
2.6, 2.4, 2.2.
Yeah.
Whatever. The add-ons and then 3ds, and there is it's actually removed.
So it's removed.
Yeah. So if it doesn't have a maintainer, that unfortunately is not gonna. It's not one of the official add-ons. at the moment. So next question is Seros. Thanks for all the great shows. Thank you for watching it. Yeah. Will the settings in the toolbars be back for selecting grab, scale, move gizmos? For the transform tool, I usually have rotation turn off, but I can only do that with the control plus minus plus tilde. Implementation of the gizmo tool now. Not for now, the idea is that the interface is locked, so whatever improvements will be done in 2.81. For the time being, you can always remember you can enable the gizmos, and from here, from the not as a tool but as a overlay. Yeah. Sorry, as a viewport gizmo. Always on. Yeah, so you can always have it on or off, and you can toggle it with the shortcut that you mentioned, Control tilde. There you go, Control tilde. Yeah. So then you just enable it from here. It's the same as the icons that were in the Blender 2.7.
Is this the Spanish layout?
This is English layout. English International.
The tilde should be up here then.
Ask Apple.
Okay.
Next question. Justin. I think this is the last question, so please, all yours.
Oh.
So do it with yes, nicely.
Okay. Hi Pablo from Austria. You're not from Austria.
Australia.
Australia, sorry.
I am from the South America, which is near.
Yeah, sorry. Hi Pablo from Australia. Is there any plans for the viewport camera clipping settings to be in sync with each other?
With each other
workplace. Each time I change the workplace, I have to reset them each time. Something small, but it would be a good fix.
Also, any plans?
Doesn't it say?
No, it's not. It's a pure viewport. What it means is the viewport clipping for the camera, and that is and that is a viewport property. It's like a gizmo, or it's something for the viewport. There are proposals on how to keep those viewports connected. It's not gonna happen for 2.80, but in the future, hopefully, because sometimes when the workspaces were introduced, some people were suggesting that it would be cool if you were like in this view and then you switch to whatever other viewport, that it will keep it locked, so that way you can keep them all in sync. The issue is, what if you have this and then you switch here and then you switch here? Which one do you change?
Yeah,
so
which one do you keep?
That's why it wasn't added, actually. It was because it was a logistic issue that it needs to be more it has to be thought through. And also this could be a very simple add-on. So
and I also think a lot of people use this synchronization to their advantage, because they have a lot of
so I think both have a valid point of view. Like, it would be nice to have them sync if you have one viewport, and if you have multiple, maybe you want to keep it out of sync. Or also, if you're like doing the shading, you want to see it on one from one view, and then here you want to see the layout top view, for example, or even this how is it, this thing?
Oh yeah,
the quad view. Yes. All right, I think we are done for today. It's 10 minutes past the time.
Yeah, someone asked also if you could do this every day, because they like it so much.
Thank you very much. And we didn't even share so many news today regarding the actual Blender stuff.
Yeah, but we had a lot of time to answer
questions. Talk, actually, yeah. So maybe that's what it is. This interaction thingy what you actually prefer over the also the questions, of course, but it should be like Blender Q&A, not Blender.Today, I think, right? So okay, I think it's all good for now. What is it? What Caminando's 4 going to be about? When will we will hear anything about it? I have will be about when I don't know. We still have to talk about what is going to happen after.
You've been inspired by the Game of Thrones series, so now you're going to do a Caminando's spin-off.
Oh yes, no. And then a dragon.
HBO.
And then the llama goes nuts and starts spitting everywhere, all over the city. And no. So spoiler in case anybody has seen it. So that's all. Actually, a small announcement is that this weekend, actually on Saturday, I'm gonna be in London for Blender London Day. so or London Blender Day, and we can actually chat and have a talk about things and all things Blender 2.8 and Spring. Actually, I'm going to be talking about Spring Open Movie Project and how we use 2.8 to our advantage and disadvantage as well. Yeah. All the pain and suffering.
It had to hold you back, otherwise it would be too powerful.
Yes. So if you have if you're planning to get tickets, there is a B3D London code that you can use to get a 10% discount. So I think that it's all for me. Do you have anything else to add?
No, it's good to be back.
Oh yeah, actually he's actually back for real. You're coming back. You're actually working now here.
Yeah, I'm here full time.
How long is your contract? Do you have a contract?
It's actually quite short. It's just till October, but it's mostly just some logistics stuff. So
that need to be either discussed again.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, short is actually really long.
Yeah, I mean most things, I think they at least have a year or something.
Oh well, it's more than a year in Doc's years, but it's yeah. I know what you mean. But October is a lot going on. There's a Blender conference, which the tickets are still on, by the way, and you can submit your talks. That's another thing that happened this week.
Oh, the BCon.
That BCon, the Blender conference, you can now submit proposals to what do you want to talk about at the Blender conference? So
this is the right-click select
of so he's like, yeah, where is my motion blur? Yeah, no, this is not
about it.
About the Blender conference. Yes. Yeah, actually I plan to, well, now we're way past the thing, but actually I plan to do a Blender maybe do a Blender Today on the stage, the Blender conference.
Oh, so, okay. You want me to join?
That
You wanted to join?
To join what?
On the stage?
Oh, yeah, anybody. Actually, I plan to interview people that are there. Actually, you're here like for 6 months. Plan to interview people that are actually not related.
That are actually interested.
That I've never seen before. Otherwise, I know, right?
Yeah, I totally
After
understand.
A few months, I will
understand.
be. But you can hang out if you want.
Yeah, I can be in the background.
On the chat, like you can be a troll in the chat. It's like, all right, it's way past the time. So thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you for watching Blender Today. It's been a pleasure to be back and to have you over.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to be with you too.
Oh, thank you.
And also the chat.
The chat, yes.
So, yeah, it's hard to keep track of everything. So, but yeah, just the general rule is that we might answer some question from the Blender chat, but if you really want it to have a high chance of being answered, ask it in the forum thread. Yes, in Blender.Today, the Blender community, it's there, and it's graphical is going crazy. By the way, if you want to try all the builds from the Summer of Code, there is automatic building daily of the Summer of Code branches for Outliner, OpenXR, which is the headset, VR, Sculpt mode by Pablo Vazquez. There is so many things. So I was actually showing a website that is not being shown on the screen, but you should check out graphical.org. It's plenty of stuff. So all right, let's go back to full screen to say goodbye. And if you're wearing headphones, remember this is a moment where you have to rip them off. Rip them off. Just plug the cable and or embrace it, because in 3, 2, go. That's all. That is all. All right. See you next week. Same place, same time. Ciao. Ha ha ha.